Oh, sorry, we're
Oh,
so we're actually live. But normally, yeah,
sounds
we go
good.
on for about 30 minutes.
Great. All right, that's totally
So
perfect. No, I just thought I'd ask.
sounds good. So welcome everybody. Good evening or good afternoon if you're like Sebastian in beautiful California. We're in the North Pole, so Ottawa, Ontario, Canada. No snow yet. It's still nice and warm.
Yeah, it
Today
was
was
29,
29 Celsius. I have
which
Wow.
probably
no
means
idea.
like 75-ish for you.
Yeah, close to
Right.
80. I don't know.
Yeah.
Right. No, I've been to Canada a few times. It's absolutely beautiful, and with everything on fire here, it's probably where I'd rather be. So,
Yeah, it's been very wet here. So we had, well, on this end, like West Coast, they did have a lot of fires, like yourself, because you're on
Oh,
the
I thought
West
he was
Mhm.
Coast.
referring to the hot market.
oh, I mean that too. No, that is definitely on fire as well, in all aspects. So,
Real
Oh, okay.
fire.
But there's actually forest fires in California
yeah,
right now?
we're
Okay.
very notorious for that. Like fires sometimes just break out in the mountains, and
Mm.
it is what it is at this point. So
Oh
Oh,
my.
yes.
yeah,
So let's maybe introduce you, Sebastian, for those that don't know who are watching. Maybe just tell us a bit about yourself, what you do, and let us know what you're drinking as well.
oh
Yeah.
sure thing. Well, this unfortunately is water, but to start off, hi everyone. My name is Sebastian Schug. I am a publisher and multimedia artist. I formerly ran an independent publishing company by the name of Sebastian Schug Publishing for around 7 years, up until the COVID-19 pandemic hit. A lot of small business owners, myself included, ended up going under. But for me personally, I've taken that money, that time, and experience, and I've found my new love in investing in different asset classes.
Okay,
This
cool.
show in particular being real estate. So that's one of my big things. Still growing. I'm 23. Obviously, don't know everything quite yet, and I guess for sake of disclaimer purposes, I would say that what I say, especially under the influence, is not financial advice. So it's definitely fun. I very much enjoy what I'm doing regarding real estate investing, and it's an experience I wouldn't trade for the world. So
Oh, that's
Excellent.
cool.
Yeah, can you walk us through what you've done so far? Like just what kind of
sure.
deals are you looking at? Single homes or what is
So
it?
right now, I'm actually looking for single and duplex houses in the Midwest. Me being in California, it is very tough for me to locate properties here because in California, especially, is very high.
Mhm.
And as a 23-year-old, there's not really much that I can do to leverage that without taking on huge risks without any
Yeah.
possibilities of return. So
Mhm.
I decided to go a little bit more safer, look at properties in the Midwest. Primarily, I entered into the, I guess, real estate investing game or market rather through investment trusts, so REITs especially.
Mm.
Um, in, I want to say, mid next year, 2022. Hopefully, I will be in a position where I can actually purchase my first property, and I'm looking to actually rent it out.
Cool.
Like I said, looking in the Midwestern districts because that's kind of hot for people right now, especially in
Yes.
California. I know why a lot of people move there because
Mhm.
it's a lot cheaper, but lots of real estate there. So
Mm.
Yeah, and the tenant laws too are more favorable. So
yes,
landlord laws, so landlord tenants. So
yeah, landlord laws here. I've noticed here in New York are very, very not landlord friendly. California, especially, I think we get hit the hardest, or one of the states that gets hit the hardest. But don't quote me on that.
Yeah, we
Uh,
have heard that it is quite stringent, the landlord and tenant laws in California.
mm,
yes.
Hmm.
So it's the same kind of where we live. We live in Ontario, a province of Ontario. I know there's Ontario, California. We're not that close. But so the
right,
tenant,
right,
landlord,
right.
and tenant laws are quite stringent too. So we do kind of like you invest in other provinces or states, depending. So cross-border
Right.
investing as well, or is really
It's definitely a lot more passive. At least I consider it being, because right now and pardon me, I'm just gonna open up the bottle.
perfect.
Yes.
There we go.
Yes. What are you
Nice
drinking?
pop.
Thank you. So this is actually Illahay. I believe that's how you pronounce it. Illahay. It's a
Yeah.
Pinot Noir. I'm very much
Nice.
into Pinot Noirs. I'm just gonna
Okay,
Yeah,
so
I
it's a
love
nice
Pinot
light,
Noir.
nice
light
pour.
wine.
Is it from California?
This is from Oregon, Willamette
Oh.
Valley, Oregon, 2019. So I know people say to usually wait about 10 years or so for this to age. Oops. So
Now we're drinking. Do you want to show the bottle?
Yeah, we're drinking actually a Chianti, which is Italian.
Oh,
sorry.
see, there you go. You just blew me out of the water with that.
No, we love
Anything-
Pinot Noir.
Anything imported is delectable. Especially from Italy. No, that's very good.
Yeah, we love Italian wines. They're very good. And we have this little boutique here in Ottawa called La Bottega. So they really specialize in Italian wine. So we've bought quite a few bottles there. They're really good.
Like the owner's special picks, I guess. So you go
Yes.
to the back and you never know what to expect. It's always a new selection, and
Very
it's a
cool.
lot of fun.
Yes.
So.
But we were kind of surprised you're not drinking a California wine. They're well known.
It's I mean, I think what it is primarily is because when you live in a state or like a country or just an area for so long, you know, and I've had California wine, and some California wines are, you know, they're top notch. For me, it's always about finding outside wines or outside things, because in California there's a lot to do, sure, but when you spent 23 years here and you kind of get
You've
used
seen
to it
it.
all, you've kind of seen it all. And I will say that I've also kind of been what's the word, not spoiled, but sort of what's the word? I've been exposed to a lot of alcohol in college. Not to say that it was like rowdy or anything like that, but when you've had, you know, Grand Cru at like a fancy dinner versus when you've had, you know, crappy box wine at a fraternity party, it kind of all blends together until you actually get to sit down and, you know, have a meaningful discussion like this and really like, oh, what are you drinking? Oh,
Yes, smell it, enjoy the aroma, and just the bottle. It's a whole experience. You're fortunate you're starting quite young. I did not like wine until I turned 35, and then I started enjoying it. Now I'm kind of a little crazy. We went great drinking on the weekend. It's very addictive.
It is I'll give it that. It's an expensive taste. I'll also say, people here in California, sorry to say, when it comes to either real estate investing or wine drinking, there is sort of a ritzy mentality, sort of like snotty. I don't want to say that, but like,
yes,
the people want to show off what they're selling, what they're buying, what they're drinking. So it's very
flashy.
I tend to stay away from that, not gonna lie. So.
I don't blame you.
We don't discriminate. We like some wine bottles are like $9, and then some we go more expensive, but never. What's the most expensive we've had? Like $65. I think that's a crazy splurge for us.
Definitely splurge. Yeah. No, if you know what you're paying for, then that's all the more, you know.
Yes. So you said you were doing publishing for 7 years. You started out really, really young, as
a teenager, prodigy.
I started off in publishing as actually an illustrator.
Wow.
I was initially hired as an illustrator to do a children's book, and that children's book, one children's book became 5, so it became a series. The original author wanted me to do one more, and soon those 6 books in total became 30 over the course of 5 years.
Wow.
Yes.
That's
Thank
great.
you.
Congrats.
In the interim of that, though, in making those children's books, I began to expand. I began to really start finding a love for writing and narration, and other facets of multimedia publishing. I briefly did music. I briefly did film. Nowadays, because you still got to get the ball rolling after businesses fail, you got to learn how to bounce back and adapt.
Oh yeah.
Nowadays, I have my full-time job as well as freelance work. So I am a freelance illustrator. It is sort of a call back to my roots, and I mean, I love it. It's one of those things where it was definitely hard to accept the fact that this lifestyle for me as a publisher is over. But
yeah, for now.
Right. No, for now. But learning how to adapt and learning how to, keep getting on the horse, and especially learning what to do with the money that I accumulated over the years.
Yes.
Which I feel that, real estate investing, other asset classes, I feel it was the right choice in the end. Again, it's something that I wouldn't trade for the world, because I knew that I was always into this subject, putting money away, putting it into things that could compound my interest, compound my growth. I'm always thinking ahead towards the future. So, but at that point, I didn't even consider investing, because as a kid, as a teenager, you can't invest to begin with.
That's very fortunate.
Yeah, I was never a big spender, but at the same time, when you're a kid, when you're not 18, you can't invest anyway. So
No.
Yeah, it's one of those things I had to wait on. So,
So what made you decide on real estate investing? Were you just kind of going through the motions, kind of searching for ideas to put your money to work?
Definitely, it was trial and error. I did start off with stocks and bonds, moved on to ETFs, fair amount of crypto. A lot of people my age would probably put all of their money into that. And
yeah, for sure.
I say, you might want to be a little bit more risk tolerant, right? And then when I found real estate, admittedly, in the beginning, there were a bunch of people bragging about the gains that they had made over the course of like months or so. But I was looking at more of the practical side of it. When it comes to property, I was obsessed with owning property. And that's when sort of the idea of living in the Midwest took shape, because property is dirt cheap.
Yeah.
By comparison, at least here. And realistically, it could be an open space that I could afford and rent out.
And that's really for free, basically. So if
exactly.
you have tenants, and it's crazy what you can do.
That is something that I loved doing, that I'm still hoping to do in the next, I want to say, what month is it? October, July of next year. Because the amount of money, full disclosure, it's from a Department of Defense contract. So I ended up getting a job with DoD, and I'm hoping to be able to put that money, that bonus, into something like real estate, where I kill two birds with one stone, have a rental property, but as well use that rental property to live.
Yes.
Because at the end of the day, I don't plan on staying in California, sad to say. It's expensive. I can't do it. And I think a lot of people in there moving to Texas, Oregon, Nevada, they're moving out. Florida, even. It's something that I don't think I'm alone in. And you just have to kind of go where there's opportunity, go where people feel comfortable.
Yeah, Jennifer follows this guy who does, what's his name? The guy who does the cooking and stuff. He moved from Chicago to Florida.
Oh, Flav City.
So anyway, she's been following this guy on Facebook
Bobby
and YouTube.
Parrish.
And they moved, from Chicago, from a small condo. And then they got a massive house in Florida with a pool. And the lifestyle you can afford is so worth it.
Yeah, it's amazing how the prices vary from state to state. Everyone's saying California is so expensive.
Yeah, it's expensive here, and I think it's sort of disproportionate, because a lot of times I feel like you don't get what you for. And that's what kind of upsets me the most because, you have houses that aren't worth what they're commanding. I guess for reference, a 2-bedroom, 1.5-bathroom house in the heart of Burbank, California, which is where I am, $700,000.
Wow.
Okay, yeah, that's not cheap.
It's not cheap, and I wish I could show you pictures of it, but picture what basically constitutes a shack.
House.
Wow.
A shed.
A shed, yeah. It's what pains me the most is that there's someone who'll probably think that that's a great deal.
Yeah.
Wow.
But
it's
I'm
the
not.
Land value
Yeah.
and demand. So that's really smart. At a young age, you're able to identify that you can move somewhere less expensive and then earn money and maybe come back to California if you want to at some point, living off of the money you've grown elsewhere. Like it's not a bad way of doing things.
I'm definitely hoping because, California will always have a special place in my heart. But in terms of, I guess, finding my place in the world, not only as an artist, but as as an investor, you have to go where the money is, no matter what it is. I hate to sound so black and white about it, but it's something that if you thoroughly enjoy, or if you would hypothetically thoroughly enjoy living elsewhere, now is the time to experiment. And I think for me, I'm very fortunate that I am such a young age, or I guess younger by comparison, that I could do that.
Yeah, you don't have kids, you're not uprooting them, moving school districts and things. So.
No, I'm way too young for that. I know that there's people out there who'd probably disagree, and there's other people who probably are already married and have kids. That's God bless, that's just not me.
Well, not everyone's ready to have kids at a young age. You have to find the right person and everything.
Yeah,
so you said you were hoping to buy a property and have an apartment that kind of makes you live for free. Are you looking to buy more properties than that, or what's kind of your end goal?
Yeah, so I think my end goal, because I know a lot of people would probably want to buy as many properties as they can and essentially funnel money, sort of passively. For me, I think my end goal has always been about living comfortably. I know sort of the whole getting rich off of it is very idyllic as well as very possible, because everyone, doesn't matter how old you are or how much older you're going to be, everybody needs a place to live.
Yeah.
So my theory is that, okay, well then there's probably a property out there for me that I'm going to like in an area that I'm going to find sustainable. And me as an individual, I'm looking for something that has this long-term potential. What that defines as, to me, is something that, is in a good area, it has a good community, and isn't teeming to the brim with what's going on in California here, which is, smog and choice individuals and everything like that. And ideally, it would be a property somewhere, like I said, the Midwest. I'm looking in sort of the Montana, Wyoming area, where ironically there's not a big populace, but it does have that location aspect to it where the rural areas are just beautiful.
Yeah, clean and nice. Like us, we're
sustainable.
That's it. Sustainability is really important for the future, because we're seeing the effects of pollution.
Yes.
Jennifer grew up, as a kid in Toronto, our biggest city in Canada. But I mean, the pollution, when you go there and come back home to Ottawa, there's a huge difference. In the summer, the air is yellow. There's a weird, gross fog. So we don't have that in Ottawa. But I mean, the opportunities, no, not yet, because we don't have that many cars and factories and things. So that's a huge quality of life thing as well. And then you're artistic. So a lot of smaller cities have great art scenes that are developing, and you have more space to stand out. In California, you're competing with everybody.
California, it's very much like a double-edged sword, because you're constantly exposed to all these these different, multimedia personas and movements and things like that. But it's really, a drop in a bucket here. It's very saturated, yes. And I think this kind of just delves into more of a personal thing about me. The whole sort of like bohemia lifestyle, I've been exposed to it so much to the point where it's like it's maybe it's time for something new, and
become a suburban guy.
Right. And you're absolutely right when it comes down to like sort of the difference in location and the smaller arts districts in these, smaller cities. It's more so being a big fish in a little pond. That is the metaphor that I've always used, because I feel like a lot of people in little towns, rural towns, they can be artistic, but sort of without the artistic know-how or connections, they often feel like that they're stuck. And hence why you have a lot of people moving from
small towns to
California or small towns to New York. Whereas with me, I find myself wanting to do the opposite.
Just like lots of Canadian artists move to the States, they become movie stars and actors because there's a much bigger art scene, movement. Like here,
definitely,
it's really limited. I think the whole country is the population of California, so it's much smaller. But
that is ridiculous. I never put that into perspective, because I know much. I know much less people live in Canada, obviously, but California, like by comparison, California geographically is so much smaller, obviously.
Tiny, if you
but we have twice as many people, or we have the same amount of people, but that is like double the amount in like half the space. I can't imagine.
I can't imagine. Yes.
No, that like the spacing here is ridiculous. Whenever we drive down, when we were allowed to drive down to the United States, you can see the difference. Even in the northern states, the highways are bigger, busier. It's so I can just imagine living in California. It would be very, very busy.
But that's something that's positive that's come out of COVID. Like I find that doors are kind of opening. Like people are
open-minded about
gears.
this.
They're moving to other areas. Because you can do your art, you can do everything online anywhere.
Wherever.
So might as well go to the area where real estate's a better investment, or you can live for free, or what we call house hacking. So I think that's one positive thing that's kind of come out of the whole COVID thing.
Yeah, no, it's definitely gave way to a lot of new investors and thinking about where people are putting their money. And I will say in that regard, it's been very effective, because California is probably one of the only states that I've seen have this much media coverage in regards to real estate investing, for example.
Yeah.
And back then it was sort of the opposite, where it's like you have all real estate investing, but they have houses in the Midwest just because of cheaper living. I think sort of a caveat to that, though, is that I've seen some people, I think maybe it's growing. Hopefully it's not growing, but some people have found ways to, I suppose, like scam individuals, into sort of like real estate investing, or just investing in general, like courses where it's not so much things are being taught so much as, hey, we're in an environment now where people don't have as much money as they did because there's not a global pandemic. Here, give me some money so that I can help you get out of it.
Yeah.
And that's sort of what I find issue with. I think a lot of people would, but it's one of those things where you just have to play your cards right and be safe and make right choices. I can't speak for everyone, but I know of a few individuals actually close to me that have bought into these courses thinking that it was a good investment of knowledge, only to
tank. There's so much free content. That's my recommendation to everybody, is listen to podcasts. That's why we're having this type of content here. Listen to lots of it. And then if you feel something that resonates with you, then do some background research. And then, if you want to invest in a coach or mentor, absolutely. But do a lot of background research. And there's so much you can do on your own. Like we did tons. and then we asked for help when we started hitting like a financial roadblock. But otherwise, you should experiment on your own, like you're doing, investing with REITs and funds. That's really
Right.
smart. Building your cash, and then you're going to be able to buy, and starting small, like a duplex, triplex, something like that. That's perfect. And then
Yeah.
we think the same as well. We don't want to buy $1 million. We just want to be comfortable, financially independent, and our kids, and that's it. Like I don't want the Lamborghini or the chopper, even though I'm always joking
All the
about
advertising,
it,
right?
Yeah, I don't want that. I don't. That's a lot of insurance and maintenance. I don't want to deal with it.
Yeah.
No, it's too much work.
Same with the crazy lawns. I mean, imagine their water bill. Like if you have a huge
God,
40-acre lawn.
Yes.
Well, in California, like I think we're still in a drought here, so you can't
water your
use much
grass.
water. Yeah, you go up in Beverly Hills and you think to yourself, these are, just casually $4.5, $5, $6 million houses.
Yeah.
Wow.
Juxtaposed on a street that is probably more broken and has more wrong with it. Like you go behind the gate onto the street and it's it's like doomsday. But behind the gate, it's like, oh, look at my house. And that's kind of what it is here. Yeah, that's a whole different issue, but it's one of those things.
I think they were sheltered from that. We don't see that really. Like when you see things about California, I don't know.
I always perceived it as very wealthy and clean, but we've never been. So
yeah,
I would say like, and this isn't to get socio-political when I say this, because I always say this in the things of humor, to be funny.
Yeah.
It's very wealthy and dirty.
Because that's what I have heard that about Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Very dirty. So
it's very dirty.
Wow. So lots of uneven. So that's the difference too with capitalism, and Canada's more socialist. So it's more even, but we are seeing a lot more unevenness, like some neighborhoods and areas, but we don't really have, like in the States, there's a lot of gated communities. It's fairly uncommon here. If it's gated, it's more of just a decorative gate. It's not really. Sometimes there's guards, but it's quite rare. That's for the
I don't think I've ever seen that.
I've never seen it either. And in all my time's been to Toronto, I've never seen that. Yeah.
No, I've never seen a gated community.
But in Florida, it's quite common. It's all gated communities and private streets and private roads. So.
Florida's one of those epicenters of that, and it's really because of tourists and Miami, and God knows how much money is being utilized for things that probably shouldn't be bought.
Yes.
That makes sense.
Yeah, well, it's one of those things where it's just like location, and I know exactly what's going on there, and I don't even live in Florida, so.
Wow.
Yeah.
So Sebastian, are you looking to meet like-minded investors? How could people get a hold of you if they want to contact you? Or
yeah, no, I'd be more than happy than doing just this, sitting down with a glass of wine and having more discussions. So people can actually reach out to me a number of different ways. I do have a website, which is essentially my first name, Sebastian, my middle initial R, and then my last name, Schug. I'm not sure if my name is being displayed here, but essentially just that, and then .com. There you'll find my online portfolio as well as my email address, and that is the best way to get in contact with me. But when I'm not on podcasts, publicly speaking, you can actually find me on YouTube as well. I do sort of my multimedia publishing comes into that, where I do video narrations. And
you have a good voice for that.
Thank you. No, I always just kind of attest to it being a good microphone. But no, thank you.
As well.
And then that money made from ad revenue and donations and live streams like that, that is cycled back into investments. So I think suffice to say, I probably do things a little differently than the average 20-something-year-old going into investments. But I could safely say that I'm not doing anything shady or illegal. And from what I've
That's
seen
great.
online, there's a lot of people doing questionable things. So, but you
Yes.
know what? Godspeed. Godspeed.
So what would you recommend, or what kind of advice would you give to people who are thinking about investing in real estate, or
Funds or something.
right, REITs?
Start. Definitely start, because it is one of those instances where I don't think people any age at this point, especially, you know, under 30, can
Yeah.
really get away with not doing. You often see, I'm not sure if you keep up with American news, but there is a date set in mind that the Federal Reserve will run out of money, they
Yeah, it's
say.
Oh
quite
boy.
scary.
October 16th. Now, they've since pushed back the date to, I want to say, December. But even then, that news should still unsettle you. So
That would be
it's one.
unsettling.
It's
Just
one
a
of those.
smidge.
Yeah, yeah. It's one of those instances where people are starting to realize the unreliability of fiat currency,
Yeah.
and they are starting to put their money into other asset classes. Real estate being one of them. I know cryptocurrency is well on its way, and I'm incredibly bullish when it comes to that. But I'm not bullish to an extent of me being, oh, it's going to make me rich overnight. No,
No.
you know, let's be reasonable.
But you should be part of it as well. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Our son is mining right now.
really? Oh wow, no, that's. I was going to say Ontario's or Canada rather is the prime location to do it, because I think like the gas fees are. Don't quote me on this, but like a lot less to do so, or at least energy consumption is.
I have no idea. Sorry.
I'm very. Suffice to say, I'm very jealous. I wish I was in Canada doing the same thing. But yeah, no, I think what it is that people are starting to dip their toes into investment class or asset classes that are unfamiliar to them, because number one, they're seeing sort of the annualized returns in comparison to something like an S&P 500, for example. But they're also looking at it as, with this, who cares if it's illiquid? This is something that I'm looking to have a 10, 20, 30, 40-year waiting period on.
Yeah, long term.
Yeah, long term. At least the people that I surround myself with, they do it long term. A lot more people they probably have a lot less patience than me, because they are looking.
Real wealth is the long-term investments.
Yeah, and I encourage individuals who haven't started to start off small, because you can start off small. There are apps that require a minimum of hundreds or thousands of dollars to invest in, REITs, if this is specifically talking about real estate, and that's totally fine. There are others that cost as little as $1 to.
Yeah, there's a new one, Addy, I think it's called. There's a Canadian app anyway that's starting to invest in real estate for I think $1.
Oh, really? Wow.
Interesting.
Yeah. There must be an American equivalent for sure. But...
Yeah, no, there is. There's one called Concrete, which is Concrete, the word, but the REIT is spelled REIT.
Cool.
You can put in as little as $1. And I'm not advertising these apps. I know people have to get very specific about it, but I use Concrete, I use Fundrise. Those are some of the apps that I use regarding real estate investments. And I mean, REITs can be bought on really any brokerage, so there's a plethora more. But yeah, no, again, bottom line, as a TLDR, if you have some money that you're looking to grow, put it away. Don't save it, just invest it. Invest what you feel comfortable in. To the people out there taking out hundreds of thousands of loans in debt and attempting to use that as collateral, have fun, because I couldn't do that. No, it's way too risky for my blood. But
no, the only good debt is leveraging in real estate, and even that's within reason. You don't want to be over leveraged, like we saw in your country, 2008. That was over leveraging. People were borrowing like twice the value of houses, putting in furniture, and that was a shame. But now America is back, and well, I think in some many ways. And I think there's some great investment opportunities, but you have to be
Definitely.
wise about it and don't
Mhm.
overspend. That's the golden rule.
Mhm.
Definitely.
No, well, thank you so much for being on our show, Sebastian. It
Yes.
was nice
Of
to hear
course.
a young
Cheers.
person who's investing, doing interesting things, and in California, and
And in the
soon
Midwest.
in the Midwest.
Yeah, no,
Yes.
it's definitely not some. I don't mean to stand on a soapbox, but I don't think I'm someone that you typically see every day. I like
No.
to just expand into things that seem interesting to me. And, excuse me. And at the end of the day, I'm not looking to be the flashy Lamborghini driving lifestyle guru. At the end of the day, it really is about wealth preservation, growth, and having that financial freedom. So. I drink to that, really.
Yes, us
That's
too.
excellent.
Cheers.
Cheers.